All right, Senate, if we could go ahead and take our seats, please. I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Senate to order. Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? We will now move into roll call.
Adams. Armstrong. Arnoldi. Belk. Bergston. Bothwell. Bowen. Brown. Burke. Carpenter. Cole. DeMaranville. Dunfield. Esses. Gammon. Gillian King. Grover. Hammond. Hart. Heatherman. Alec Hildreth. Derek Hildreth. Huffman. Javin. Carmali. Kidd. King. Kulkarni. Leverett. Mari. Marshall. Morgan. Neatery. Orth. Orzakowski. Pelton. Penny. Riffle. Roman. Smith. Spellman. Spencer. Sullivan. Tile. Thompson. Chumlin. Wessel. Wilhelm. And Whitmer. All right, moving to directors real quick. Boyd. Clark. Cruz. Gertson. Jennings. Pick. Lundeen. McIntosh. McKenzie. Inu. Picer. Sedlacek. Tuttle. Underwood. Valdez. And Works. All right, guys, we have 40 senators present, 2 excused, and 7 absent.
All right, we'll now move into first open period. Are there any speakers who would like to speak for first open period? All right, seeing none, we'll move into approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Wilhelm. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. If there are no objections, the minutes are approved. We'll now move into announcements for the week. First, proxies are Bothwell for Bowen and DeMaranville for Arnoldi. SJ members of the week this week are the members of the Privilege Fee Committee for their work meeting with and listening to constituents about the Union Programming Council legislation. So if we could give them a round of applause. And the quote of the week this week, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because one's conscience tells one that it is right. Martin Luther King, Jr. We will now move on to commendations. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 39? Senator Marshall. It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 39. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 18-1939, Commendation to Dr. Pat Bosco by Faisal Almadani, Nick Beasley, Morgan Betancourt, Andrew Booz, Nathan Bothwell, Fisher Carr, Aaron Colosico, Lily Colburn, Aaron Galloway, Creighton Glasscock, Alan Hines, Julia Howie, Carissa Jonak, Peyton Kavanaugh, Corey Neasley, Trey Coleman, Marissa Lux, Jackson Moore, Grace Palsick, Cameron Peck, Sadie Polson, Ethan Rice, Riley Schlichter, Reagan Stone Street, Matthew Sword, and Jackson Willis. Whereas Dr. Pat Bosco first enrolled at Kansas State University in 1969, whereas Dr. Bosco serves as the KSU Student Governing Association Student Body President in the 1970s through 1971 school year, whereas Dr. Pat Bosco has served Kansas State University in many ways over the past 50 years, including, but not limited to, admissions representative, Greek life advisor, and vice president for student life and dean of students. Whereas under Dr. Bosco's leadership, KSU has become the #1 choice in universities for Kansas high school seniors. Whereas Dr. Bosco is the founder and director of the Center for Leadership Development, a nonprofit that hosts the longest-running national leadership conference for student government leaders. Whereas University President Richard Myers referred to Dr. Bosco as the face of the university and a shining example of how a life dedicated to service to others can transform thousands of lives. Whereas on December 17th, 2018, Dr. Bosco announced that he will be retiring at the end of the 2018-2019 academic school year. And whereas on January 31st, 2019, Dr. Bosco spoke to the Phase 2 SGA interns and reflected upon his time at KSU. Be it resolved that, Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends Dr. Bosco for his dedication and service to the students and community of Kansas State University, as well as wishing he and his wife the best of luck in their future endeavors and many happy memories to come. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Dr. Pat Bosco, Vice President of Student Life and Dean of Students.
With that, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Thompson.
Correction, line 15, the 50 isn't supposed to be spelled out, it's supposed to be 50.
Does that work?
Okay.
Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
Yeah, on line 7, it's typed Marissa Luz. That's supposed to be Marissa Lux. That's a typo on line 5.
Thank you, will be corrected.
All right, further corrections or questions? All right, seeing none, is there a motion on this resolution? Intern Booz.
I move to approve this resolution unanimously.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution unanimously. If there are no objections, this resolution is approved unanimously. Could we give Dr. Bosco a round of applause? All right, we'll now move into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Carpenter.
All right. Hi, guys. For those of you I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, I am Shelby Carpenter. I'm the Senate Operations Committee Chair, and I just had a couple updates and reminders I wanted to share with all of you. So the first reminder is that legislation is due at 3 p.m. on Monday afternoons, and Senate Ops no longer meets at 8 p.m. It's now 8:30. I believe that's been corrected on the schedule that's included with the agenda and announcements that go out every week, but I just wanted to make that clear for everybody. Also, I wanted to give you an update on vacancies. After the winter break, we had some students who, due to personal circumstances and commitments, had to take a step back from SGA, so we're now at 10 vacancies, but that process is moving along rather quickly, and I will keep you updated if we get close to filling any other vacancies and swearing in any new senators. All right, with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, are there any questions for the speaker? Caucus Leader Kidd.
Hi, sorry, thank you. Good evening.
Hi.
Chair Carpenter. Can you go through the process of what that looks like for filling a vacancy? What does that look like? How many absences does one have until they're out of here? And then what does that look like for getting a new one in if I find them on the street, or do we still go off of elections? What does that look like?
For sure, that's an awesome question. Thank you, Marcus. So the process of filling vacancies goes through the next winners, or it says the next losers in our governing documents, but I think that sounds kind of nasty. So the next winners, I will look at the election results from last year, and I will contact the individuals who have the next highest vote total. And once I get through all of those individuals, they have when I contact them, they have 48 hours to respond. And after I don't hear from them or they turn down the position, and I've gone through all of the next winners for the election results, I'll then move to the college councils, and they have 2 weeks to turn in their recommendation or their nomination for the spot. And then if that does not prove to be beneficial, they don't turn in a nomination or they can't find anyone, then we'll look to the intern coordinators to see if they have any interns serving in their current class who would be willing to fill the position. We've never had to look to intern coordinators though for graduate students, so when we cross that bridge, we'll get to it. Oh, and regarding absences, you have 3 unexcused absences and 6 unexcused half absences. So when Nathan calls your name at the beginning, that's a half absence. At the end, half absence, put them together, that's 1 absence or 1 attendance, point. Once you've used up your 3 unexcused absences, that's when we'll have a conversation of whether or not you'll be removed from your position as a student senator.
All right, further questions? All right, seeing none, are there any more committee chairs who would like to give a report? All right, if not, are there any directors who would like to give a report? Attorney General Moore.
All right, I have an update from the interpretation we did tonight at 5:30. I'm just going to read as we wrote it. Jordan Keel presented an interpretation request to Student Tribunal concerning Section 508B of the SGA Constitution, along with the following question. Does this section state that a privilege fee agreement would be the law that provides creation or change, or is it that changes to statutes, bylaws that change or created priv fee would be the law requiring 2/3 majority vote? The board considered Article 5 of the Constitution, Chapters 30 and 31 of the statutes, and briefs submitted by Bill Harlan, Jansen Penny, and Matthew Orzechowski. Student Tribunal met at 5:30 this evening. All 8 members were in attendance. The board determined that a change to a statute or bylaw that changes or creates privilege fee is the law that requires a 2/3 majority vote. This determination will serve as official precedent. Seeing as Bill 18-1944 is not a statute nor a bylaw, it should have only required a simple majority vote to pass. Bill 18-1944 will therefore be enacted as it was voted on January 31st, 2019.
All right, with that, are there any questions? Interim Coordinator Bothwell.
Can you just kind of elaborate on what that means and can you remind people in the room what that vote is?
Yeah, so the original vote was not approved, and it was decided that it would have needed a 2/3 vote to be passed. When looking at the Constitution and that section of the statutes, we've determined that changes to amounts of priv fee, like amounts being given to organizations, require a simple majority. I hope that answered your question.
Further questions? Senator Orzechowski.
Are those briefs public? Can I see the other ones, I guess?
They're not, but if you'd like to see them, I can send them to you.
Okay.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, are there any more director's reports? Elections Commissioner Shao.
So I just want to talk about the elections voting tables that are going to happen Tuesday and Wednesday of next week that I sent out an email to everyone about last Friday. We still have a lot of open spots on that, especially in the Union of all places. So if you're especially if you're a senior, if you're not running for Senate, we would love for you guys to sign up for these shifts because we think that this is going to be one of the best ways that we can get students aware of that the election is going on, is either voting at the table or seeing the table and being reminded of that. So please sign up. The link is on the email that I sent out last week, but if you want me to send it to you personally, I could definitely do that. And that's all I have.
All right, are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, are there any additional director's reports? Director Boyd.
Hello, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ian Boyd, and I am the Student Support Director. For this past year, my issue of focus has been food insecurity, which is a very important issue that has impacted close to 40% of students at K-State at one point or another in their lives. My work on this issue has been touched two areas, which has been ensuring long-term sustainable funding for the Cat's Cupboard, as well as being a voice for programs on and off campus which help to address food insecurity. Fortunately, we were able to achieve a partnership with the K-State Foundation, which is now actively fundraising for the Cat's Cupboard. Additionally, I found that the biggest increase in visits to the Cat's Cupboard has resulted from students talking to other students about food insecurity, not from big marketing campaigns or top-down programs introduced, but from students supporting other students and helping them know about the Cat's Cupboard and how it may be something for them. As a result, I began having conversations all over the university with help from some leadership studies students I knew about how to recognize food insecurity and talk to someone about it and get them help. I hope that this same effort is continued past this year as we near a new term. In addition to my work on food insecurity this past year, I have been privy to many conversations and experiences which has informed my understanding of to what extent SGA supports students. Right now, we are far from our potential as an organization, and I believe this process begins with the process in which students join SGA. Not only does our elections process disproportionately support certain groups of students over others, but the whole system is set up not to be a support mechanism, but primarily as an enforcement mechanism. Rules are important to ensure equal opportunity, but when those rules and the enforcement of them support certain groups of students over others, that is not equal opportunity. When those rules give students from stronger financial backgrounds a leg up, that is not equal opportunity. And when the enforcement of those rules changes year after year with little regard to precedent, that is not equal opportunity. This must change. My mental and academic health has been severely compromised by the way in which the elections have been ran and the way in which the rules have been enforced. My character was defamed on a public document, and I am burnt out. And I know I am not alone in this. How can we be expected as student leaders to support students if we can not support those wishing to join our organization and those that are participating in our electoral processes? We are students, first and foremost. Getting involved in an organization is something we are doing on the side. This is separate from our classes, which is what we came here to K-State to do. This should not be happening. This must change. For the sake of all those who will come after us hoping to make this university better for everyone, this must change. For the sake of every student who can't afford their education, every student who does not feel safe at our university, and every student who needs our full support, this must change. I put a lot of hard work and energy into SGA this past year, but I must make a hard choice. In order to protect my mental and academic health as effective immediately, I resign my position as student support director. Didn't grab my notebook.
Are you going to stand for questions?
Nope.
All right, with that, are there any additional director's reports? President Gill.
Tonight, I want to talk to you about some of the things that have been going on this week. But instead of focusing on what's happened outside of this room, I want to focus on the people that are right here. After last year's elections, almost an entire year has passed, with each of us going through that process, knowing what our elections code was, knowing what the process looked like, and we chose not to do anything about it. And that is on me, and that is on every single person sitting in this room, that we had the entire power and opportunity to create change and decided not to. This is something that happens almost every year, because when we talk about elections and you're in the thick of it and you're running side to side all over campus trying to talk to students, posting on social media, trying to get elected, it's current and it's right there in front of your face. And then you get elected, or you don't, and you move on to other organizations, and it no longer matters. And that's something that we need to address, and we need to fix, and we need to do it now, because we can't keep skirting by, and I think this year is evident of that. Tonight, we're going to consider a piece of legislation to remove someone from their position for not doing their job. Well, right now, I want each of you to think about whether or not you've been doing yours. We each have a month left, or a little more than that, in our term, and if there's even a question or doubt in your mind that you could be doing more, allow me to be the one that informs you, you absolutely can. You're elected by your peers to serve, and if you're unhappy with the current state of SGA or K-State, then let's do something about it. I would encourage you to focus on that and focus on the students you were elected here to represent. Dedicate all your time and energy to that, not social media, not tearing each other down, not focusing on anything other than making this university a better place. And that goes for me too, and the executive branch and the judicial branch, because we all have a part in it, and we won't stop until our term is over. I ask you to not be distracted by the noise, the criticisms flying around, because our sole purpose is to serve in the best interests of students, and that is serving the best interests of no one. Regardless of what they say about SGA, please educate them on what you do. Tell them about how you spend your nights here debating over 2% of a decrease or increase that makes 19% or 19 cents of a difference. That's powerful. That's something that we do that no other school in the nation does, and we do it because we care. At the beginning of this term, I stood in front of you all, and I asked us to put aside our differences, because I believed we are all here to serve students. And I still believe that, and I will always believe that. So no matter what you disagree on outside of this room or inside this room during debate, please know that we're all on the same team. And I hope that our goal is to leave this term knowing that we did all that we could to improve the university. So own that and do better. For the next month, I challenge each of us to tackle an issue that we see on campus, whether that be the elections code, campus safety, food insecurity, textbook affordability, whatever it is, whatever reason you chose to be in this room and to serve, there's no problem that is out of reach. If you're not sure how, please come and talk to me. No questions.
Thanks.
Unless you want to talk about it, then come to my office.
There you go. All right. Are there any more directors' reports? All right. If not, we will move into approval of minor allocations. Bill 52 is a travel allocation to backcountry hunters and anglers at K-State. They requested $400 and recommended $400. Bill 53 is a travel allocation to Miracle Dance Network Marathon. They requested $200 and were recommended $200. Are there any questions on the minor allocations? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minor allocations? Senator Marshall.
I move to approve minor allocations.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minor allocations. If there are no objections, the minor allocations are approved. We will now move into final action. Will the author of Resolution 38 please come forward? Have any changes been made?
No. Actually, Senate Operations Working Group has been changed to my name. That's my misunderstanding.
First rights to debate.
This is just updating the College Council Constitution for the College of Agriculture. I don't think that there's anything contentious in it, but that if there is, let me know.
All right, with that, are there any questions for the author? All right, if not, is there a motion on this resolution? Senator Marshall.
I move that we pass this motion unanimously, this resolution unanimously. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve this resolution unanimously. If there are no objections, this resolution is approved unanimously. We would move into Bill 54, but again, I want to mention. I want to mention that on Bill 54, as Attorney General Moyer stated, that is no longer germane, so we'll go ahead and remove that one from the agenda. So with that, will the author of Bill 55 please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yeah, all changes have been made.
All right, first rights to debate.
Okay, so this is basically the Asian American Student Union. They're going to their national conference. They're going to get to learn a lot more about cultural competency, and it's going to be really good for them. It's going to be really great for K-State, and they're going to bring it all back. So, yeah.
All right, with that, are there any questions for the author? Seeing none, is there maybe a motion to bulk roll call Bills 55, 56, and 57? Interim Coordinator Bothwell.
I move that we hold bills 55, 56, and 57 for both roll call.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we hold bills 55, 56, and 57 for bulk roll call. If there are no objections, these bills will be held for bulk roll call. Will the author of Bill 56 please come forward? Have any corrections been made?
No, everything's good, I think.
All right, first rights to debate.
Okay, so this is to the Million Science Club. They're going to be sending like 35-ish students to their national convention in New Orleans. They're going to get a great opportunity to see new innovations in the million science industry and things like that. And I know we all love the bake sale on campus, so yeah, that's basically it.
All right, with that, are there any questions for the author? All right, seeing none, we'll move into Bill 57. Have any corrections been made?
No, I think we're good.
First rights to debate.
All right, so this is the Prairie Fire Printmakers. So basically, they're going to their national Southern Graphic Council International Conference in Dallas, Texas. So basically, they're going to get to learn about research in the field of like printmaking, different art techniques. So it's going to be really great. They're going to bring it back to campus and teach everyone here about it and increase like our art department a little bit more. So yeah.
All right, with that, are there any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you, Carson. We will now move into a bulk roll call vote on bills 55, 56, and 57. As a reminder, if you're voting yes to all, please say yes to all. If you're voting no to all, then vote no to all.
All right. Adams?
Yes to all.
Armstrong?
Yes to all.
Arnaldi?
Yes to all by proxy.
Belk? Bergston?
Yes to all.
Bothwell?
Yes to all.
Bowen?
Yes to all by proxy.
Brown?
Yes to all.
Burke?
Yes to all.
Carpenter?
Yes to all.
Cole?
Yes to all.
D. Moranville,
Yes to all.
Dunfield, Esses,
Yes to all.
Gammon,
Yes to all.
Gillian King,
Yes to all.
Grover,
Yes to all.
Hammond,
Yes to all.
Hart, Heatherman,
Yes to all.
Alec Hildreth,
Yes to all.
Derek Hildreth,
Yes to all.
Huffman,
Yes to all.
Javin,
Yes to all.
Karamali,
Yes to all.
Kidd,
Yes to all.
King,
Yes to all.
Kulkarni,
Yes to all.
Leverett,
Yes to all.
Mari,
Yes to all.
Marshall,
Yes to all.
Morgan,
Yes to all.
Neatery,
Yes to all.
Orth, Borzakowski,
Yes to all.
Pelton,
Yes to all.
Penny, Riffle, Roman,
Yes to all.
Smith, Spellman,
Yes to all.
Spencer,
Yes to all.
Sullivan,
Yes to all.
Tile,
Yes to all.
Thompson,
Yes to all.
Chumlin,
Yes to all.
Wessel, Wilhelm,
Yes to all.
and Whitmer.
Yes to all.
Okay. All the bills pass 42 to 0 to 0.
All right, with that, we will now move into introduction to minor allocations. Is there a motion to consider the minor allocations? Caucus Leader Heatherman.
I move to consider the minor allocations.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the minor allocations. Bill 58 is an on-campus allocation to Hispanic American Leadership Organization. They requested $180 and were recommended $180. Bill 59 is an on-campus allocation to Wildcat Warriors. They requested $500 and were recommended $500. Bill 60 is an on-campus allocation to Wildcats Against Sexual Violence. They requested $500 and were recommended $500. Are there any questions on the minor allocations? All right, seeing none, we'll now move into introduction of legislation. Is there a motion to consider Bill 61? Intern Glasscock.
I move to consider Bill 61.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 61. Will the author please come forward?
All right, so this is the 2019 allocations to sports clubs. So by the Travel Allocations Committee, the Travel Allocations Committee received and reviewed the allocation requests for the sports clubs below, whereas all registered organizations were given ample opportunity and notification of their ability to submit funding requests, whereas 22 of the possible 24 requesting clubs presented budget proposals to the Travel Allocations Committee, whereas Chapter 48 of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association statutes state that $67,000 shall be dispersed to sports clubs on a yearly basis, whereas the Travel Allocations Committee recommends that $3,995 be allocated to build the reserves account in the event of unexpected mid-year funding requests, whereas all funds must be used per funding guidelines and have been allocated accordingly, and whereas the funds requested by the groups and the funding recommendations are made as follows. So I'm not going to read that because that would be a lot. But if you do have any questions over like why groups got what they did, just shoot me an email and I can explain everything. I have notes on every single group and everything like that. So if you have questions on like why groups didn't get funding, like mainly like you're like why did women's rugby and weight club not get money? You know, they just didn't show up to the meeting. We couldn't fund them. So yeah, but any questions, just shoot me an email. So be it enacted that Section 1, the $63,005 dispersed to the sports club shall be allocated as specified above. Section 2, upon passage by the student senate and signature of the student body president, these funds shall be transferred from the SGA account to the respective accounts of each sports club.
All right, with that, are there any questions for the author? All right, seeing none, this bill will be referred to the Travel Allocations Committee. Is there a motion to consider Bill 62? Senator Marshall.
I move to consider Bill 62. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 62. Will the author please come forward?
Bill 18-1962, on-campus allocation to backcountry hunters and anglers of Kansas State by the On-Campus Allocations Committee. Whereas the On-Campus Allocations Committee received and reviewed the on-campus request of the backcountry hunters and anglers of Kansas State. Whereas on April 18th, 2019, the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers of Kansas State are hosting a panel to discuss the history and the progression of hunting and conservation in America. Whereas Bracy B. Hill, renowned author and professor of wildlife outdoor enterprise management at Baylor University, will be covering relevant topics encompassing the future of hunting and conservation in the United States. Whereas an estimated 200 to 300 students and community members with interests in hunting and conservation will receive the opportunity to discuss current issues with a dedicated professional and will increase their knowledge about their passions. Whereas Backcountry Hunters and Anglers of Kansas State is registered with the Center of Student Involvement as an independent student organization, and whereas the funds requested by this group and the funding recommendation are made as follows. Project 1, the Ethics of Future Hunting in America, April 18th, 2019, Town Hall or Forum Hall. They requested $2,000 and we recommended them $1,000. Be it enacted that Section 1, upon passage of this legislation by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, and upon signing of the award agreement by the members of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers of Kansas State required by the university, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers of Kansas State will be awarded and distributed $1,000 from our account for the event described.
With that, are there any questions for the author? All right, seeing none, this bill will be referred to the On-Campus Allocations Committee. I will now give the chair to Parliamentarian Watkins.
Is there a motion to consider Resolution 40? Yikes. Oh, and side note real quick, I don't know all your guys' names, so will you hold up your placard whenever you... Senator Marshall.
I move to consider Resolution 40.
Will the author please come forward? Is there any changes?
There's going to be a change to line 121 that, 121, let me be sure. Yeah, that 121, there was a miscommunication. That whereas clause is going to be taken out, and there's one that's going to be read in its place. Sweet. All right. Resolution 18-1940, removal of 2018-2019 Elections Commissioner by Alec Hildreth, Lindsay Anderson, Dominic Arnone, Michael Arnone, Lanessa Arnn, Connor Balthazar, Leah Bartels, Jordan Bartz, McKenna Bentz, Matthew Buescher, Abby Bliss, Kiara Bowman, Hannah Botkin, Ian Boyd, Will Bruna, Carly Budke, Isaiah Calloway, Garrett Cannon, Adam Carr, Savannah Cohers, Maddie Crowley, Dana Daher, Drew Davis, Julia Deeb, Holly DeLay, Mireya Diaz, Keegan Donahue, Shay Dewar, Connor Dugan, Jack Dunfield, Kirsten Dusterhoff, Elizabeth Inkenberry, Nate Faflick, Jared Fisher, Timothy Flax, Jacob Fleming, Alexis Garcia, Riley George, Creighton Glasscock, Paul Glover, Calvin Gordon, Daisy Hagendorn, Courtney Harms, Alexandria Herb, Carly Harrington, Derek Hildreth, Sam Hornsby, Wesley Hollinger, Addie Johnson, Fala Kerr, Douglas Kellerman, Ryan Kelly, Trey Keith, Srinakil Keshmoni, Gracie Key, Michelle Cogson, Rajat Kodira, Kaylee Conda, Paul Cruz, Vedant Kulkarni, Emily LaBelle, Haley Lang, Katie Laxon, Katie Lindeman, Sean Marshall, Jeffrey Martin, Jordan Martin, Coley McCarthy, Mackenzie McIntosh, Emily Meeks, Ryle Miel, Lucas Meitler, Lauren Missy, Minu Mohanu Kumar, Sam Morgan, Colin O'Brien, Matthew Orzakowski, Taylor Parrish, Lauren Petrie, Brooklyn Plott, Jared Rack, Kenna Rambo, Madison Ramsey, Leslie Reese, Julia Reiser, Molly Roach, Jonathan Rodriguez, Paloma Roman, Jenna Rose, Brooke Rosen, Megan Roth, Brooke Rowland, Anna Rulis, Dominique Rupp, Bailey Riles, Cody Sater, Alex Sadaloff, Pranav Sabaner, Jessica Sawyer, Alana Sherman, Trey Schmidt, Hadley Schreiner, Corbin Solachik, Corey Sitek, Carly Smith, Jaden Smith, Jairo Fernandez Solis, Haley Spellman, Anna Spencer, Regan Steele, Lauren Sullivan, Sophie Swearingen, Olivia Swires, Dominic Tassio, Arian Tile, Kevin Thompson, Madison Triggs, Sarah Vondermark, Ashlyn Voth, Logan Wetzel, Matthew White, Adam Wilkerson, Zebediah Wiley, Leah Wilhite, Brandon Williams, Landon Wingerson, Matthew Wise, Andrew Wood, Mohana Yoganandan, and Andrew Zinman. I'm going to take a drink of water. All right. Whereas Zeb Wiley, a student at Kansas State University, KSU, agreed to create a video for Ryan Kelly for his student body president campaign for free, not only because Kelly was a friend, but also he was a fellow KSU student. Prior to filing the initial expense report, Kelly, along with others on his campaign, decided that based on precedent and a detailed reading of the rules, the videography services provided by Wiley were unnecessary to include in the expense report. Upon review of the expense reports of both campaigns, the Elections Committee, quote, did not find any violations in either report, end quote, whereas Kelly was found in violation on the evening of Sunday, February 10, 2019 for not expensing videography work done by Wiley for his campaign. Whereas an appeal was filed according to Chapter 54, Section 540124 of the KSU SGA statutes. Whereas Student Tribunal upheld the decision of the Elections Committee. Whereas the sanctions put in place by the Elections Committee required the partial expensing of the time the video had been used and the inability to continue using the video. Whereas Arian Tile, a student at KSU, agreed to shoot and edit photographs for Kelly for his student body president campaign for free, not only because Kelly was a friend, but also because he was a fellow KSU student. Whereas Kelly was found in violation on the morning of Thursday, February 14th for not expensing photography work done by Mr. Tile for his campaign. Whereas the decision to not file an appeal was made because it was assumed that Student Tribunal would reach the same conclusion for Tile's creative services as they had for Wiley's creative services. Whereas the sanctions put in place by the Elections Committee required the partial expensing of the time the photos had been used and the inability to continue using any of these photos. Whereas both of these violations involved the services of time and talent contributed to the campaign. Whereas Kelly, in following the logic of the decisions made by the Elections Board and Student Tribunal, submitted an expense report that included all services contributed to the campaign. Whereas Jordan Martin had previously received compensation for his work as treasurer for KSU Student Governing Association, SGA, and contributed an estimated $382.81 to the Kelly Spencer campaign. Whereas Ian Boyd previously received compensation for his campaign management services and contributed an estimated $1,100 to the Kelly Spencer campaign. Whereas Alessa Arn had previously received compensation for her social media marketing services and had contributed an estimated $75 to the Kelly Spencer campaign. Whereas Victor Valadez had previously received compensation for his web development services and contributed an estimated $1,200 to the Kelly Spencer campaign. Whereas Alec Hildreth had previously received compensation for his social media marketing services and contributed an estimated $450 to the Kelly Spencer campaign. Whereas Kelly offered Elections Commissioner Kristen Schau an itemized receipt explaining aforementioned services on the night of February 14th, 2019 at 4:45 p.m. Whereas Schau emailed Kelly later on February 14th, 2019 stating, quote, I will not be filing a complaint against your campaign, end quote, in regards to the services listed on the receipt. Whereas, in the spirit of full transparency and to eliminate the potential need for additional violations and hearings, Kelly made the decision to expense these services on his revised expense report at 4:34 p.m. on Friday, February 15th, 2019. Whereas, on February 18th, 2019, Kelly was informed that Elections Committee member Chelsea Phillips filed a complaint for incurring campaign expenses that exceed the limit by more than 5%, which is defined as a major offense under Section 540102J10, and that for the Kelly Spencer campaign, 5% over the limit is $42. Excuse me. Whereas the violation hearing was held on February 18, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. Whereas Kelly was not found in violation under Chapter 54, Section 540102 J10, but was found in violation for not expensing Valadez's website development services. Whereas prior to the hearing, Shao did not file a violation regarding Valadez services and even told Kelly the service did not need to be expensed. Whereas all relevant information regarding Valadez's website work was presented to the Elections Commissioner 4 days before the hearing, as Valadez was not notified by the Elections Commissioner and thus unable to attend the hearing to personally testify. In their final determination, the Elections Commissioner stated, quote, "The campaign has thus been using the website for 74% of the total time. 74% of 200 is $148.57. And this puts the candidate over their expense limit, but it does not exceed the limit by more than 5% as Chapter 540102 J10. Therefore, this is not a major violation. This is a whereas clause. It's going to be switched. There's 2 that will take the place of this 21. Whereas the election committee and commissioner valued the website at $200, and per their first decision regarding our video, we should have expensed the full retail value on our original expense reports. Whereas a retail value of $200 would have put our campaign over the expense limit by more than 5%, and incurring expenses more than 5% past the set limit is classified as a major offense. That's the new stuff. We'll go back. Now, whereas Article 1, Section 2, Part C of the KSU SGA bylaws states, the Elections Commissioner shall be responsible for carrying out the KSU SGA elections and carrying out all provisions of the Elections Regulation Code, whereas Shao currently serves as Elections Commissioner for the 2018-2019 term. Whereas Article 1, Section 2, Part D of the KSU SGA bylaws states that Student Senate, by resolution adopted by 2/3 vote of total membership of Student Senate, selected and qualified, may remove the Elections Commissioner for misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance. And whereas these inactions are display of nonfeasance or, quote, failure to perform an act that is either official duty or a legal requirement, end quote, which is an offense that provides ground for removal from office. Be it resolved that, Section 1, Kristen shall be removed from the position of Elections Commissioner for the 2018-2019 term.
Okay, are there any questions or corrections? And again, if you'll hold up your, I'm sorry that if I've met you a couple times, I don't remember your name. Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
Can you define what nonfeasance is for everyone in the room? Kind of discuss that.
Yeah, I would point to one of the last whereas clauses where it's a failure to perform an act that is either official duty, which is what we're talking about here, or legal requirement. So just if it's lined out in your job duties and you're actively not doing it, then that's nonfeasance.
Follow up.
Can you explain how Kristen's act is nonfeasance over any of the other types of feasances?
So nonfeasance was, I will again point to, let me find the exact whereas clause I'm looking for. So nonfeasance of not, when Ryan came with the receipt, as we call it, Ryan came with a receipt that obviously had a violation for website services that at the time wasn't told Ryan that it would be a violation, and she specifically told him that, and then later on went back and a few days later actually found that it was a violation. So that is directly not doing your job. Doing your job would have been telling Ryan that is an expense that should have been expensed. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, I can refer to Ryan if you need more clarification.
Thank you.
Further questions? Chair Carpenter.
This isn't necessarily a question, but a correction actually of several. The main one being the authors' names need to be alphabetized.
Hey.
All of the quotations that come in the whereas clauses towards the end with the semicolon need to encompass the semicolon like you would a period on a sentence. And I have a couple more. Don't we need to just email them to you?
Yeah, that would be great. I do have a question. Would it be, are they alphabetized by first name then? Because on this legislation they are. Is it first name or is it last name?
It's last name.
I think they are. Besides, I'll put my name where it goes. It was just there because as a primary author, and I don't know why it's there actually, but I'll fix that. And email me everything else.
Further questions? Intern Hines?
What is the responsibility of the elections commissioner?
Can I refer to Ryan? Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, in the legislation, I think it's quoted, you can look at lines 124 through 126, it should be on the agenda. It says Article 1, Section 2, Part C of the KCSJ bylaws states, the Elections Commission shall be responsible for carrying out KCSJ elections and carrying out provisions of the Elections Regulations Code.
Yeah, I mean, that touches it pretty well. If any other clarification is needed, I think the responsibility, it says right there, is carrying out KSUSJ elections and carrying out all provisions to the code, which is, that last part is kind of what's in question tonight.
Follow up?
Does delegation fall under that?
More clarification, please, with what you mean.
Could the commissioner delegate out parts of it and oversee all of it?
I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't.
And let's refrain from hypotheticals, please.
Yeah, I don't see kind of the relevance, and I don't understand the question, but sorry, I can't answer that.
Further questions? Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Emily Dedlow.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine. Okay. I have corrections. On line 38, that is an incorrect use of elections committee. That should be elections board. In line 47, same thing. In line 49, same thing. In line 63, same thing. And I believe the new line 122 is also the same thing. And then also in line 110, where it says that Valdez service, and even told Kelly the service did not need to be expensed, that is factually incorrect. The correct verbiage is actually listed earlier in line 92.
Yes, thank you.
Further questions, Caucus Leader Heatherman.
While I'm aware that people have added their names to this legislation, how many people have removed their names since Monday?
I personally don't know the answer to that question. I know that I've had a few people reach out to me and they were removed when they reached out to me, and I did it myself. We had a group of people that were sharing this legislation with other people, and we were acting together to get authors, so I can't speak to everyone else that was on this legislation. I know that the few that reached out to me that wanted to be removed were removed before we sent it on.
Time. The author's time is ended. Is there? I thought it was a 5-minute. Okay, never mind. My bad. Do you want to finish that question?
Oh, yeah, you can. I guess if I can remember where I was, I can't speak to how everyone that wanted to be removed, because not everyone that wanted to be removed reached out to me personally. So that would be a question that I could try to find the answer as to. Everyone else that put authors' names on there, I could try to find that out, but I don't know as of right now.
Further questions? Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
Can you speak to why line 21 is different? It's just, in our agenda, we have a different version than what you're reading. Can you speak to why those changes were made?
Yeah, let me pull it up. Line 21 as in the authors?
Oh, 121, excuse me, that's my bad.
Yeah, that was so we're working on the legislation, making sure everything looked good, and it was just a kind of a communication error between, or a misunderstanding with myself. That on your guys' legislation was a misunderstanding of what had happened. We recognized that there was a major violation that had happened, but that 148 number isn't the argument that we were trying to make. It was just a miscalculation from the authors. So I don't know if there's a way that I can get these two other whereas clauses out to you guys so you can read them. I don't think there is, but.
Further questions? Jonathan Cole, Senator Cole.
Given that I have received text messages from this individual, could you remove Nate Bafflet from this resolution?
Yep, we'll take them off right now. Thank you.
President Keel.
Sorry, just jumping back to the new whereas clauses, can you just read that so everyone's aware?
So.
And say where they're supposed to go. I think it's 121.
Yeah, 121. I'll read the coming into 121 as well, so I'll read the one that kind of explains it.
Okay.
In their final determination, the elections commissioner stated the campaign has thus been using the website for 74% of the total time. 74% of 200 is 148.57, and this puts the candidate over their expense limit, but it does not exceed the limit by more than 5% as per Chapter 54, 1012J10. Therefore, this is not a major violation. And these are the two new whereas clauses coming now. Whereas the elections board and commissioner value the website at $200, and per their final decision regarding, or per their first decision regarding our video, we should have expensed the full retail value of our original expense reports. And whereas a retail value of $200 would have put our campaign over the expense limit by more than 5%, and incurring expenses more than 5% past the set limit is classified as a major offense.
Further questions?
Director Cruz, sorry, I don't have my thing.
Director Thurb.
Can you speak to how the numbers, like the contributions were estimated by the Kelly Spencer campaign?
Yeah, so the numbers that we got came straight from the students that did it. If they were like students, so they gave everyone that's listed gave their acting, like what they charge for the services that they get paid for, and then we just calculated based on estimated to the best of our ability hours worked for the campaign. So I'll speak to myself. I'm on there as social media. Currently, I get paid $9 an hour to do exactly what I've done for the campaign. So we calculated $9 an hour, and I estimated that I've been working for the Kelly Spencer campaign directly on social media for about 50 hours. So that's where that 450 would come from.
Further questions?
Oh, sorry. Senator Neatery.
Senator Neatery.
Can you send out an updated version of the legislation? Because I'm a visual learner and I'm a little
can
Or, like,
I
throw it
send
up
it
on
to
the
everyone
screen.
via WorkSync? Can I do that?
If you
Okay.
hop on WorkSync,
Yeah.
just go to your inbox, click Student Governing Association, and send it to everyone.
Yeah. Do you want me to do that when I sit back down, or should I do it now? I'll do it when I sit down, so I don't waste anyone's time.
Further questions? Caucus Leader Kidd.
That's all my questions. Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you. So, in reference to line 109, prior to the hearing, shall did not file a violation regarding Valdez's service, and even told Kelly the service did not need the expense. Is any of that like in writing, just for?
So, sorry to cut you off. Is that?
That's the question.
Okay, yeah. So, as previously mentioned, that told Kelly the service did not need to be expensed. That should and will be taken out. That was implied when she has an email that stated in one of the quotes above this, line what? 9293 was the, I will not be filing a complaint against your campaign, and that was in regards to all the services that were listed on the receipt that they talked about.
Thank you.
Further questions? Caucus Leader Heatherman.
When this resolution goes to final action, will members of the campaign who have a vote be refraining due to their conflict of interest?
I refer that question to Brian Kelly. Hypothetical question. We're not going to answer it.
Further questions? Speaker Kelly.
I move to suspend the rules and special order resolution 40.
Second.
You're not a voting member. You can't make that motion.
I don't. Oh, voting members can't make a motion.
Senator Marshall. So the rules don't need to be suspended to go to special order.
Special order this resolution.
There's been a motion to move to special order and move the bill to final action. This is a debatable motion. It's going to take 2/3 of the voting members. The person who made the motion has first right to debate.
Can I defer my speaking?
Not to somebody who has speaking rights.
Not to someone who has speaking.
Not to somebody who already has speaking rights.
Sorry, I can't make a motion, but I can't have that debate with the minute.
He cannot refer to someone who has speaking.
But I couldn't make that.
I feel like if whether or not this passes would affect the election itself and the outcome of the election, I feel like it should be passed before the election takes place. So that's kind of it.
Questions? Senator Cole.
Is the shirt you're wearing permissible in this student senate right now?
What's that?
Is the shirt you're wearing permissible in student senate right now?
Yes, because this is not a campaign. It was disqualified, so.
Intern Booz.
Is the campaign that is disqualified still a campaign?
Yes, can we quiet down, please?
Can I defer? Yeah, do you know the answer to that?
To my knowledge, a disqualified campaign, the rules do not apply to a disqualified campaign. It's no longer a campaign.
Further questions? Okay. Can I get a speaker from the negative?
Parliamentary inquiry. So, if 12 or more senators vote no on the special order, does the resolution become void when it's taken up next week on Thursday?
No.
Okay. I just want to point out that if this is considered today and if the elections commissioner is removed, there must be an elections commissioner selected to carry out the remainder of the election. According to the bylaws, Article 1, Section 2E, Ryan Kelly will have a say in who the next elections commissioner is for the remainder of the election. Furthermore, there is a legislative process in place to allow SGA members to read, think about, and discuss bills or resolutions before they come to Senate. This process started Monday and it was introduced to Senate Ops. We discussed the resolution in detail in Senate Exec on Tuesday to answer questions and get clear about what is being presented. I personally spent 4 hours yesterday drafting my statement to you all in order to make sure that I can correctly explain all of the facts. This morning, however, we discovered the authors have changed a lot of the whereas clauses and neglected some of Senate Ops instruction. This process is supposed to allow everyone to have the time to review the legislation being put forward. Especially with an accusation this serious, it is imperative that everyone has sufficient time to review the claims being made. I was originally going to say the 14 hours from now was not enough time, but also some were changed literally while we were in this room.
Questions?
Yes, Victor.
I honestly don't know the answer to this. Can Ryan recuse himself from picking the elections commissioner?
I don't know. I don't know the rules on that. I'd have to look that up. As it's stated in the statutes, it says that the Attorney General, the student body president, and the speaker will select the elections commissioner if the current one is being removed. So I would think that that's how it would go.
Do a follow-up. I do feel like that doesn't necessarily not give him the power to. It doesn't refrain him from recusing himself, right? Like explicitly.
I mean, it says that that's who picks the next one, so I don't know how. I think that would give
too much to 2 people if we had 2 instead of 3. My guess is you can't just really do that. But I mean, this is my speculation. So if that were to happen and someone were to think that was incorrect, they could ask for a tribunal interpretation to fix that.
Intern Warzakowski.
So I guess my question is, does it change things that, like, because he's disqualified, so does that change?
Change what?
I guess, like, so he would be picking a new elections commissioner for an election that he's disqualified.
So if you're asking if that would create a conflict of interest, that is up to you guys to think about. I just wanted to lay out the facts about who would be selecting the next elections commissioner.
If they're selecting a new elections commissioner, we have to completely.
Remember, you need to be called on, and then we're not going to ask hypothetical questions, please. Further questions? Seeing none, is there debate in the positive? Debate in the negative? Any debate at all? Seeing none, we'll move into a hand vote. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Clarification? Yeah. This is about the special order, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So all those in favor, raise your hand.
Question? Sorry. I'm sorry, so sorry. So this is, what are we doing again? So we're doing a hand vote to
Yep.
consider the special order to consider this tonight, or to do what?
Yes. So the motion to special order would mean that we would consider this bill in final action tonight, and then if not, then it would be referred to committee.
Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry.
Okay, well, once again, all those in favor, raise your hand, please. The motion fails.
I move that we table this bill indefinitely tonight.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded.
Point of order, the correct wording is postponed indefinitely.
The motion has been moved and seconded to postpone indefinitely. Will the maker of the motion has first rights to debate?
SGA, I come before you tonight very worried. My favorite thing about KSU SGA is our common goal of working for the students of Kansas State University. I love our passion and dedication for service. Unlike actual politics, SGA offers a chance at cooperation. I am worried that Resolution 18-1940 will divide us and sully our reputation for multiple reasons. First, I am worried that this argument isn't legitimate. The bill being read tonight is not the same version that was sent on the first draft of the agenda on Tuesday. In fact, this bill is trying to impeach Kristen Schaal on an entirely different offense than that one. It is my belief that if Kristen Schaal was actually guilty of any impeachable offenses, there would be no need to change the violation that she is being accused of. I believe the authors of this bill are trying to impeach Kristen Schaal, but upon learning that they didn't have enough evidence to impeach her, they changed tactics. This is bad argumentation and abusive to the legislative process. In addition, the bill isn't even legally sound. The bill claims that Kristen performed her job incorrectly. She should have disqualified the candidates earlier than when she eventually did. This was written before all the changes were made. However, this is not a form of nonfeasance. This is a form of misfeasance. The bill doesn't even use the correct language, and on that reason alone, you should not vote in favor of it. Second, I am worried that removing the elections commissioner will have negative consequences for everyone involved. Without an elections commissioner, we cannot have elections next Tuesday and Wednesday. If Kristen is removed from office tonight, the student body president, attorney general, and speaker must spend the next 48 hours finding a new elections commissioner. This will be a lot of time wasted. There were no other applicants for this position, so these three must start from scratch to find a new one. This position is also historically difficult to fill, as the position is not compensated, receives a lot of criticism, as evidenced by this, and the person must not be affiliated with any campaign. Once they have found a possible candidate, that candidate then has to be sworn in by Student Senate. That means that there won't even be an elections commissioner until the next time that Senate convenes. This process will be long and arduous, and our leadership positions will be taken away from the actual work they need to do. If an elections commissioner is not found by next Tuesday, what happens? If we postpone or move the elections process, we negatively impact every single person running for office. As mentioned in Senate Executive Committee on Tuesday night, the elections process is very stressful. Moving that process shows a lack of commitment and care to the mental health and wellness of all candidates involved. As intern coordinator, I constantly worry about the stress and anxiety that my interns must go through. No one will benefit from an election season without an elections commissioner. Third, I am worried that by removing the elections commissioner for nonfeasance, we set a very dangerous precedent for SGA. I think it's clear that Kristen isn't guilty of any wrongdoing, but even if you believe that she is, she does not deserve to be removed from office. If we attempted to remove someone from office for every minor violation of the Constitution or bylaws, many of us in this room wouldn't be here. So here is my challenge to all of you. If your name is on this bill, next week your name will be on a bill calling for my impeachment as intern coordinator. I have broken our rules in the following places. First, I broke Article 8, Section 802 of the Constitution. I do not have the authority to perform the oath of office ceremony, yet I did on October 18th, 2018, to swear in the first class of Phase 2 interns. This is an act of misfeasance. I broke Article 6, Section 1B4 of the bylaws by allowing 36 interns to join Phase 2 from Class 1. The bylaws state that I can only add 35, but I chose to ignore those rules. This is another act of misfeasance. Finally, Article 6, Section 1B3 discusses the intern selection panel, who must go over intern applications. That panel has never met once this entire year, and the members of that panel are the intern coordinators, the Attorney General, the President, and the Speaker. All of us committed nonfeasance by failing to serve on that panel. If we are now going to hold people accountable for every rule violation that they have ever committed, you will be voting on my impeachment bill for the aforementioned reasons very soon. In conclusion, I'm very worried, and you all should be too. We are being asked to vote on a piece of legislation that doesn't even fit the definition of removal. That should worry all of you. We are being asked to destroy the elections process for everyone participating next week. That should worry you. And we are being asked to start impeaching members of our own organization for every act of nonfeasance that they may or may not have committed. You should be very worried, SGA. A bill like this has never been introduced during my time in Senate, and I hope that we never see one like it again. That's why I want to table it indefinitely, so we just get rid of it. I am now open for any questions that you may have of me.
Please refrain from clapping, please. Questions? Is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive?
We have a PowerPoint for timeline purposes.
Just looks quick away from the box.
Yeah, if it's a meeting.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, they started my time, so I'm gonna start talking. Okay, my name is Emily Dedevo, and I'm the Deputy Attorney General, which means I serve directly under the Attorney General Peter Moyer. My role in this process has been that I have been serving as a voting member on the Elections Board. This means that I have been in every hearing up until this point. I was on Judicial Board last year and have experience with judicial procedure. Because of my role in this Elections Board, I have been privy to every step of this process. This resolution presented leaves out some very important context so that you all may be informed before you vote on tabling this indefinitely. I would like to lay out the timeline of the complaints filed against the Kelly Spencer campaign. To address kind of Jordan's comment earlier, I'm not here to comment on how good the rules are. I am here to give the facts relevant to how the rules are. This is most likely going to take more than 5 minutes or however many minutes I have, so if you would extend my time to present everyone the facts, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so at the mandatory primary elections meeting, the Elections Commissioner, Kristen Shao, and myself clarified who will be the ones filing complaints this election season. Both candidates, Jansen Penny and Ryan Kelly, were at this meeting. We explained that if members that vote in hearings are the ones to file complaints, that is like saying, I think you've done something wrong before we've even held a hearing. Therefore, we decided to have members of the Elections Committee keep an eye out for violations, in addition to the campaigns policing each other, in order to avoid potential bias of voting members. Nowhere in the statutes, including the section referenced in line 124, and I apologize if the line is now wrong because of the change in whereas clauses, does it imply that delegation is nonfeasance. Neither candidate stated a problem with this format when we explained it in this meeting. Neither candidate stated a problem with this format throughout the entire election until this resolution was introduced 3 weeks after the primary election meeting. At the meeting, we also explained that in situations where a violation is clear, Kristen may file a violation if it is something she has all of the information for. For example, Kristen is the one who has the roster of who attended the mandatory general election meetings. She is therefore the only one who could file the violations against those who did not attend. To clarify for the purposes of this resolution, the voting members, so this is the elections board, of all the complaints against Ryan Kelly or his campaign have been Kristen Shao, Ashton Hess, who is a member of the Elections Committee and who also has previous judicial experience, and myself. So we're now going to start going through this timeline. On Friday, February 8th at 3:15 p.m., the Kelly Spencer campaign submitted their first expense report. When the member of the Elections Committee, Chelsea Phillips, who is designated to review expense reports, reviewed this report, she did not notice any violations. She did not know about any services the campaign had used but not expensed at the time she reviewed their report. A different student, not on the Elections Committee, that had this background information thought the Kelly Spencer campaign video and/or photos by Zeb Wiley should have been expensed. This person then filed a complaint on February 9th at 3:04 p.m. On Sunday, February 10th, the election board held a hearing for this issue, hearing 1902. We decided the video should have been expensed because we had evidence suggesting Zeb did not provide his services for free to the general public, as outlined in Chapter 540119A. The board sanctioned the Kelly campaign to a fraction of the total price of the video and asked him to make a good faith effort to remove the video from social media platforms. Ryan appealed this decision, citing the reason that the sanction was either too harsh or too lenient. However, tribunal reviewed all the evidence and concluded that we had made the correct decision. On Monday, February 11th, Elections Commissioner Kristen Shao was checking the Kelly Spencer social media to ensure that they had complied with the sanction of the first hearing to take down the video. This is when she noticed an Instagram post of photos tagging the account AT Visuals, an account that suggested payment for his services. Kristen remembered that in the previous hearing, we had discussed if the Kelly Spencer campaign used any other people or businesses for any services. Since only those present at the hearing could have remembered this information, these were the only people that could have recognized a possible violation for omission or misleading of information, which is Chapter 540102J4. Since the board consisted of the only people who could review the full recording record to confirm the specific words spoken in the hearing, we determined that a member of the board must be the one to file a complaint in this instance. Kristen then filed a complaint on February 12th in order to pursue the matter further. On February 14th, the board held a hearing, 1903, to determine 1, if the photos by AT Visuals should have been expensed, and 2, if there was any intentional omission of information or misleading of information. In a manner identical to the hearing regarding the Zeb Wiley video, the board decided the AT Visuals photos should have been listed. Additionally, the board decided that there was no evidence that the Kelly campaign deliberately misled or omitted information. The sanction was to remove the photos by AT Visuals and to expense a portion of the cost. On February 14th, Ryan met with Heather Reed and Kristen to discuss other members of his team that he felt provided a service that might need to be expensed. Later on that same day, Kristen reviewed the 4 members' services presented and decided that she could not file a complaint because it was not clear that a violation occurred. The list Ryan gave her described all of the jobs the member of his team previously held. It was not clear that having a previous job meant that you would charge the general public for that service or skill, which is what would make it a violation. Given that what we discussed during the primary election meeting about who would file violations, Kristen decided that this was not a clear enough case to be the one to file a violation. You can change the slide, Chelsea. On Friday, February 15th at 4:34 p.m., the Kelly campaign submitted a new expense report as required by the sanction of the previous hearing, but he also added 5 expenses, 4 of which were the ones he had mentioned to Heather and Kristen. Just as we have done for every other expense report, Kristen notified Chelsea at 5:30 p.m. on Friday the 15th that an expense report was turned in and asked her to review it for potential violations. Chelsea was not home Friday night and was unable to look at the report until Saturday, February 16th. Upon discovery of a violation on Saturday, she filed a complaint the same day at 8:18 p.m. since the total expenses listed was significantly over the limit allowed. On Monday, February 18th at 5:30 p.m., the board held a hearing for this issue, hearing 1906. And to address line 113 of the resolution, the election commissioner always notifies the respondent and the complainant. That would be Ryan and Chelsea for this hearing, which is why Victor Valdez was not notified, but Ryan can bring any witnesses as the respondent to that hearing. So he didn't bring Victor, but Ryan was present at that hearing. When considering the 5 additions to the Kelly campaign's expense report, the board determined that 4 of them did not need to be expensed because they did not fall under the definition of something not available to the general public. Again, that is Chapter 540119A. For the 1 other expense, a service used to create the Kelly Spencer website, the board determined a sanction again in an identical manner to the Zeb Wiley video and the AT visual photos. The campaign was required to expense a portion of the cost and to take down the website. After the removal of the 4 expenses and the partial expensing of the 1, the campaign would not have been in violation of 540102J10, which states, incurring campaign expenses that exceed the limit by more than 5%. And yeah, the authors now corrected that statement. At 9:16 p.m. on the same day, Ryan Kelly appealed this decision. Again, tribunal examined all of the evidence and upheld our previous decision. After the conversation at Senate Exec on Tuesday and after all the information being made public the last couple days, the authors have now shifted their argument by revising the whereas clauses after it was reviewed by Senate Ops. They are now arguing that the nonfeasance is because of a decision made by the Elections Board in line 121 that was upheld by the Student Tribunal. In total, this information was reviewed by 11 students, so that is the first board and tribunal. So I have information to explain why that line, the whereas clause that was removed is incorrect. If you guys would like me to explain that, I can, but since they changed it, I'm gonna move on for now. If any of you are concerned that about there being one campaign held accountable while there is another that is not, please know that the Penny Karamali campaign has listed photography, editing, and video services without prompting on the first expense report they turned in. Additionally, I would like to clarify that the Kelly Spencer campaign had never been disqualified during the elections process prior to this morning. As someone who has observed Kristen Shao at every step of this process, I can confirm that she has committed absolutely no instance of nonfeasance. Not only is she not guilty of nonfeasance, but all the decisions Kristen has performed have been confirmed by tribunal as being procedurally correct and with appropriate sanctions. Finally, I would like to say, at the beginning of this election season, a bill was put before you all asking to make the elections process fairer. We added 2 individuals to the hearing process, myself and another voting member of the Elections Committee, so that the Elections Commissioner would not have the power to make all the decisions herself. Kristen Shao was an author on this bill, meaning that she was supporting the idea of having other people to check her in this process. Not only was Kristen an author on this bill, but so was Shelby Carpenter, Corbin Sudlicek, and myself. You all passed this bill unanimously. I now stand for questions.
Senator Hildreth.
Yeah, one of the last statements that you made regarding campaigns and how fair they are, you mentioned that the Penny campaign had put the videography and the photography on their expense report. To your knowledge, has any campaign in the past, say 5 years, expensed those 2 services?
I don't know. I haven't reviewed the ones of the last 5 years.
Further questions? Intern Booz.
In complaint 1902, it states that $45.45 is the retail value of the video. Is that statement correct?
Let me see. So for the Zeb Wiley videos that you're talking about?
Yes, that is correct.
So I can talk about how the hearing came to certain prices, if that is relevant to the issue of nonfeasance for the Elections Commissioner.
Because you stated that you charged them a fraction of the video when
Yes.
you were testifying.
A fraction, yeah.
On here it says that it's the retail price. Which one?
A fraction. So we took the retail price, and then we looked at how long they'd been using the video out of the total time. That was the fraction.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director Sedlec. I can't see.
Close enough. What happens now that one of the candidates has gotten disqualified?
Yes, so we put out an announcement, right? That was out, okay, about how, so the statutes clarifies that the primary election's purpose is to select the 2 candidates for the general election. So we interpreted that as meaning that Jansen and Ryan are the 2 candidates that can run in the general election. So since Ryan has been disqualified, we believe that Jansen will be the only member on the ballot for the general election as president.
Follow up.
Who made that decision?
So that was a group effort trying to interpret. If you disagree, you can ask for an interpretation by tribunal.
No, who was the group that made that?
It was me, Kristen, Ashton, Bill, and Heather were all in that room. Oh, and Andy Thompson, sorry.
Senator Marshall.
I actually have a point of clarification, I guess, for the parliamentarian. Is this actual debate that we're having right now on this information germane to the...
I can explain how it is if you want.
No, I can. So her speech is explaining why the bill shouldn't be discussed any further, why it should be postponed indefinitely. Gotcha. So it's germane. Further questions? Intern Hines.
Whose responsibility is it to review the expense reports?
So Kristen has delegated that responsibility to Chelsea Phillips, and she has reviewed every single one.
Follow-up.
Granted.
Did Ms. Phillips file the complaint within 24 hours of receiving that expense report?
From her discovery, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Further questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative?
All right, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. It's my argument that tabling this bill indefinitely shows that SGA does not take into consideration the voices of the 150 plus students that signed off on this bill, at least 120 of those being students that are not involved in K-State Student Governing Association. I know today the administration made a statement, and I'd like to just read one line because I think it's relevant exactly to what we're talking about here. The last statement regarding this whole situation says, if you see a need for change within this community, Student Governing Association empowers you to be able to pursue solutions. If you're not sure where to begin, start with us. That's what students outside of this bill did. We reached out to them, they recognized the problem, and they co-signed this legislation. If we don't want to take 100 students at K-State's opinion into if we don't even want to think about it, then that's Senate as a whole, that's what we decide. I would just argue that maybe we should think about these students that may have these opinions. Obviously, they signed off on this legislation. Tabling it indefinitely just throws their opinion outside of everything that we've been able to do here.
Questions? President Keel.
How are you going to take those students' opinions into consideration if you would have special ordered the bill tonight?
That's a, what's the word? Hypothetical, sorry.
It's a question. We're going to special order it.
Those opinions have already been stated.
Yeah.
They've already signed the bill.
Yeah, they've already signed the bill, so they know what we were.
Follow up?
Yeah, follow up.
Is your argument to not table it indefinitely so that those students can show up at Senate next week to offer their opinions about the bill?
That, or that there are voices that they are on this bill that they signed off purposely, that is not just being shoved aside indefinitely for no. Jesus, I didn't think that.
Further questions, Intern Booz?
Is removing elections commissioner the change that you want to happen in this place?
Yes, I think that's clear in the legislation.
Intern Beasley?
Have all of the people who signed this bill, the students involved, are they aware of the changes that were made tonight to the bill?
Everyone that I personally reached out to, yes, I reached out to them as we were finishing up last night. I can't speak for all 150 because I didn't personally reach out to all 150.
Point of information.
Or 150 is a benchmark.
To every student that I have reached out to that was
This is a question period, so.
Yeah.
Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
Can you tell me how many members of SGA on that bill were not on Ryan Kelly's campaign team.
That's not relevant, really. I don't think I need to answer that.
Yeah, you don't have to answer any question.
I'm not going to answer that.
What did you say when you asked people to sign on to this?
Multiple conversations. At first, I described kind of the whereas clauses and then offered them the legislation. And if they had questions, I answered whatever questions they may have.
Can I follow up?
Granted.
Do you know if other people all presented it with information?
I can't speak to everyone that offered author. I know what I did, and I offered the legislation.
Can I give a point of information?
Chair Carpenter.
Can you confirm that every author on this bill is enrolled at Kansas State University?
Again, I can't speak to each 150 because I didn't personally reach out to every. That's why we had a lot of authors on this bill. To my knowledge, yes, everyone is. I know there was a question of 3, and that's because we had shortened their names. One guy, we had his Trey Keith. His name is actually Trevor Keith. Stuff like that. Misspellings happen as well since there were so many. To shortly answer your question, I can't be 100% sure, but I do know from what I did, yes.
Interim Coordinator Bothwell.
I apologize for the harsh phrasing of the earlier question. I'm trying to ask for how many unbiased opinions are on there. So how many of those authors on that bill that are current members of SGA are not affiliated with any presidential campaign?
Yeah, I'm not. I can talk to you about this. I don't think that's really relevant, and I'm really not deciding to answer that question.
Follow up. Can you explain to me why that's not relevant?
All right, so, okay, I'll just answer it. To assume that people on this, that people would put their decisions in a presidential race above their obligations as a senator is almost, it's disheartening. One, I can't think of the other words I want to use for it. That's a statement I'll say regarding those, your last 3 questions. It's disheartening to me, to say the least.
Elections Commissioner Shao.
You stated that all of the students that you've contacted about this were aware of all the changes made finished last night. So why were the changes not presented to Senate until during the Senate period?
I don't understand your, can you?
So you say that they are aware, every student you talk to is aware of every change that has been made because you contacted them all last night. But we were not given all of the changes made until earlier in the Senate period. So why were we not presented with the whole agenda or the correct legislation before this period, but signers were?
That's a fair question. So when we described this situation, and the thing that happened with the legislation, I didn't want to sit up here for 45 minutes talking about each argument that we had. So a lot of the times that we were talking to students, I laid out everything that we had noticed, and the things that are added are things that were noticed that they just weren't on the first draft of the legislation. If that answers.
Great.
Are you aware of how many people that have signed this have, or can you confirm that they have read the bill in its entirety?
I can't speak for anybody besides myself, so no.
Intern Glasscock.
So when you contacted the co-authors of this bill to inform them of the changes to the bill, did you contact them individually or in bulk?
Can you, I don't really see the need to answer that question because I don't think they got the information regardless, so I don't think I need to answer that. Both is the answer, but I don't see how it's relevant in the slightest.
Further questions? Seeing none, is there any more debate in the positive? Chair Carpenter.
Okay. Give me just a second because I had a whole spiel prepared, but due to some recent changes that happened like an hour ago, some things got muddled, so I'm going to be reading off my phone. I don't mean to be unprofessional, just wanted to explain that. First, I'd like to start off by saying that I've been informed that there are authors on this bill that were approached by members on the Kelly Spencer campaign, and they were told, quote, "Hey, my friend's getting DQ'd or something, would you want to sign this petition?" So just wanted to share that information with all of you. Second, I would like to share that I, as an individual, am deeply concerned, like a previous speaker mentioned, that if we remove our elections commissioner, which, by the way, this is not an impeachment, this is a removal. Those are two very different things. If we remove our elections commissioner, the individuals who have input in replacing the elections commissioner, I'm just very concerned about the bias and the conflict of interest in that decision-making process. Finally, just, wow, guys, the fact that we are even having this discussion is really disappointing to me. Yes, I understand that there is frustration, and some of you believe that there has been wrongdoing or malfeasance, nonfeasance, misfeasance, etc. I don't believe this is the way to handle it. If there is an issue, I don't believe the best way is to dump a bunch of gasoline on it and light some matches and just go crazy. Tonight during the mental health dialogues, we talked about there are problems in college. Problems are a part of life, and it really got me thinking. It's how we handle those problems that really define our character and define our organization and define our purpose. The pettiness and the language and just this resolution in general, I do not believe accurately reflects the character of this organization or the individuals in this room. You are all smart and capable and involved, dedicated individuals, and it's just, this isn't something that we should be associated with. I do not support this bill. I do not believe that it would be in our best interest to move it forward, and that is why I am in favor of postponing it indefinitely. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for the speaker? Senator Marshall.
So in your speech, you said that the measures we've taken against what we perceive as misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance aren't appropriate. How would you go about if you had seen someone?
That's a hypothetical. Okay. Further questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Senator Marshall.
I defer my speaking rights to Andrew Zimmern.
Yep.
Hello, my name is Andrew Zinman. I'm a junior in history and legal communications here at Kansas State University. I am one of the signers of the petition to remove. And I came here tonight because I reached out to my senator from my college, Sean Marshall, because I noticed some things about the election process. And if this is my last chance to say something before it's tabled forever, I was wondering if I'd be able to give what I have to say.
Yep, you have speaking rights for the next 9 minutes.
Sorry, I also prepared this pretty impromptu, so it'll be on my phone. Kansas State University was founded as a land-grant institution. Land-grant institutions are a key component of our nation's democratic fiber. They provided citizens affordable education while training and educating them to be wholly productive and civically capable members of our United States. It would only make sense that the student governing association of our school reflects these values of accessibility and civic virtue. By imposing certain severe restrictions upon one of the campaigns for infractions and essentially making the supposedly fair democratic election to nothing more than a formality, the students governing association has severely lost credibility amongst its electorate and the students who are supposed to be represented fairly by our own elected officials. By making this a one-candidate race by default, the sanctity of the process and the principle of democracy have been assailed. I beseech that the members of this Senate seek to remove the permanent tabling of this in light of these principles, and let we, the students of Kansas State University, be the ones who decide who will be our next student body president. Questions?
Go ahead.
Are you arguing against the rules or the elections commissioner?
I am arguing against the elections commissioner because that was what the bill said.
Granted.
Can you explain how what you said is relevant to her committing an act of nonfeasance?
I believe that by removing the Kelly campaign and what they claim to be as nonfeasance is making the process a sham.
Granted.
What do you feel that she should have done in light of all the violations as opposed to disqualify the candidate?
Isn't that a hypothetical?
Can you restate? Can you just re-say it so I can hear it again? Okay, it's not. It's fine. Intern booze.
Because the only thing that this bill does is remove the elections commissioner, why do you support it?
I support it because I believe that we can reassess the future of the campaign so we don't go straight into elections, so we have a chance as a student body to reassess the election, not just have one candidate on the ballot, which is not really an election.
Are you aware that the time to appeal the disqualification is over?
I was not aware of that.
Further questions, Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
I really thank you for coming and sharing your opinion with us tonight. It really means a lot when students come to do that. My question is, would you like to see reform on the expense report process moving forward?
That is something I can't really speak to. It might be a good thing. It might be healthy for our university, but that's not what I came here to speak about.
Okay.
Further questions, Senator Leverett.
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Did on what the previous senator said tonight, but I don't know if this is a question for the speaker. If I can say something to Sandy.
This is a question period, so if you could phrase it in a question.
Can I do a point of information? I think it's important.
No, so you could do a point of parliamentary inquiry, but this is a period for questions for the speaker.
Okay, well, okay, whatever. So for us additional speakers, can we please try to say something like our previous speaker Nathan said, that's productive and doesn't seem like we're attacking our guests. This is for.
Like I said, this is a period for questions only.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you. Sorry for.
Further questions. Seeing none, is there debate in the positive? Commissioner Shea.
So I would like to speak briefly on why I think that this should be the last time that we as a body discuss this in this room in a formal setting. Since I've been appointed to the position of Elections Commissioner last September, I've spent countless hours volunteering my time as a student leader. Since the beginning of the semester and the formal start of election season, I found myself working on elections in the CSI office nearly every single day. In the past few weeks, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that I've spent more time in CSI than I have in my own home. As well as completing the required tasks of my position, I've worked with the Elections Committee to revamp the mandatory meeting presentations, create a template for expense reporting, begin examining and editing inconsistencies in the statutes, and presided over a number of hearings that exceeds the amount of hearings held in any recent year. I've worked extremely hard to fulfill the obligations of this unpaid position because I value the work that I am doing and the contribution of elections towards Student Governing Association and our university. I wrote a statement yesterday explaining that I have not committed nonfeasance because I delegated the responsibility of reviewing expense reports to Elections Committee member Chelsea Phillips. But this morning when I reviewed the agenda, I discovered that the speaker and the authors had added and removed whereas clauses sent in the original agenda that shift the argument for nonfeasance entirely. Instead of questioning my abilities as commissioner and submitting violations for review, the campaign now suggests that I should be removed from office because of a decision made by the Elections Board of which I am a voting member of, and was reviewed and upheld by a student tribunal. It could not be more clear that this resolution is not a legitimate reflection of the statutes, but a personal and motivated action. To remove me from my position would create a dangerous precedent that when making decisions, the Elections Commissioner must consider the security of their role rather than the wording of the statutes. But I also believe it would create a precedent far more dangerous to the institution of Student Governing Association that a campaign can attempt to remove an Elections Commissioner whose decisions they agree with, and that attempt will be recognized as a legitimate and fair part of the elections process.
Questions?
I don't
answer. Did any of your actions, did you take into consideration how it would affect third parties affected by the Kelly Spencer affiliated with the Kelly Spencer campaign?
Can you clarify, third parties as in literally anyone?
So
or?
there was 3 separate individuals who donated their services, and then you priced their services for them. Did you take into consideration how it's going to harm or affect those people?
It is the responsibility of the respondent and complainants notified to bring any witnesses that they would like to present. If any of those witnesses would like to present their own statements other than what's added in evidence, that would be the responsibility of someone to bring them in as a witness to share.
Further questions? Seeing none, is there debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Oh.
So I'm going to speak specifically on why we shouldn't postpone this piece of legislation. Yes, this might not be about nonfeasance, but if we postpone it now, we won't be able to go back and amend it later. And I'd say we go back and amend it later because there is an act of misfeasance or malfeasance. I'm not sure what the difference is, but I can talk about specifically harms that Kristen did that did cause financial harm to first my businesses and also to Zeb Wiley Films and AT Visuals. To have someone else go and price your work, first of all, is an infringement from the government to tell me what I can do with my own business, which I believe the government has no right to tell me how I can price my services, and also infringe upon any contract that I write with my not business partners, but my clients. And I don't feel that Kristen has that power to do that, or any elections commissioner in that case. I feel as though we should go back and amend it to make it say misfeasance or malfeasance, whichever one is the right wording. Because for my services specifically, I'll talk to my services. To be priced at $200, that not only hurts me, but that also reduces the amount of money I can get from future clients. And I'm not going to work and spend a whole week coding to get $200. My skills are a lot more valuable than that. My creative efforts and my time are a lot more valuable than that. So if you postpone this, there's literally no chance to go back and amend it to make it be specific to actual harms that she has caused through intentional actions. With that, I stand for questions.
Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
Did Kristen price those decisions on her own?
I'm not aware how she priced them, but to my information, she priced them on her own or by the elections board. Either way, a government entity priced my services, which I still don't believe in.
Are you seeking to remove the elections board or the elections commissioner?
Right now, I'm speaking specifically on why we shouldn't postpone the bill. So that question is irrelevant. Either way, we can go back and change it so that even add a clause or change the entire resolution to change the elections way of pricing services. I don't think it should be allowed for government service, like for the Elections Commission to price services for a campaign. That's just wrong.
Deputy Attorney General.
Are you aware that in the statutes, Chapter 540120, it states the Elections Commissioner has the authority to make final judgments on cost of items?
It's my awareness as a business owner and as someone who makes deals with clients that I should be the only one talking to my client about what prices are set.
Can I follow up?
Granted.
So are you arguing that the rule is wrong or that the Elections Commissioner didn't follow the rule?
Right now, I'm debating on whether we should postpone this indefinitely.
Intern Booz.
I know that coding an entire website is hard, but how much does one price that is only on the violations website damage your business?
It's not only the price, but it's also the act of making them take down some work that's not theirs. First of all, pricing it at $200, I'm not going to give up my copyright for that. And then making me take down a piece of work that I've worked on that I will not be able to link on my portfolios, that does damage my business. So,
Intern Glasscock.
So can you speak to the connection between the damage to your business and malfeasance or misfeasance or nonfeasance on behalf of the Elections Commissioner?
Yeah, if we're using the numbers on the piece of legislation, it's $1,000.
No,
Granted.
So can you speak to the connection you're making between that damage to your business and nonfeasance on behalf of the commissioner?
Yes, her decision was to price my services at $200, and if Ryan were to pay me $200, I'd be missing out on $1,000.
Granted.
So can you speak to how that discrepancy indicates a break of the rules on behalf of the commissioner?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you know the answer to that question. Further questions? Senator Hildreth.
Have you made a website for a past campaign?
I have. I also offer my services on 3 different freelancing websites. So.
Further questions? Senator Marshall.
How much did you charge the other
At the time, for the other campaign, I was still pretty early in web development, so I kind of used them as an experiment, trying to get my work out, to get experience with it. But as I learned that I'm actually a lot more talented in it than I originally thought, I started to charge for my services. So at that time, since I wasn't I wasn't full-time or seeking employment in website development, I didn't charge them. But this time, since I actually do this for to pay rent, and I actually provide services to other people, then now I can start charging people and not feel bad about it.
Senator Thompson?
Did you have knowledge that Speaker Kelly was supposed to include your service on his expense report?
Yes.
Deputy Attorney General?
Did Ryan notify you of the hearing location and time?
I was not notified by anyone.
Intern Hines?
For the first campaign that you did a website for, were you charging anybody at that point in time for your services?
As I stated earlier, at that point in time, I was beginning to develop, so no. But at this point in time, now that I have experience and I've created a number of websites, and the website that I made for the Kelly Spencer campaign is a lot more, has more depth in terms of complexity and had to do a lot more things than just what I did for the previous campaign. I see that I have a right to charge for my services.
Further questions? Intern Beasley?
Why are you no longer able to include this website in a portfolio in the future?
Because it would be taken down.
Commissioner?
Are you aware that the website has not been taken down?
I am aware the website has not been taken down because it is my property.
Let's make sure that we're being respectful, both in our questions and our answers. Follow. Further questions?
So in regards to the code written for this website, if you were to change some of the properties of it and change this hosting company that you use, would the website's context alter at all? And would it still have the same domain name? But is there a legal definition?
You don't have speaking rights, I'm sorry.
I'm an author on the bill.
I don't think that is relevant.
I just, as a technical question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. Interim coordinator.
I defer my speaking rights, Rob.
Thank you. So I'm asking a question in regard to if you were to change this code, at all, would it affect, the domain?
If I change the code one bit, yes, I would consider it depending on the depth of, if I change the design, absolutely it would be a new website. If I change the content, yes, it would be a new website. So yeah, a change in code would be a change in the website.
How many hours of debugging would that require?
For debugging, it kind of depends because it would have to be an ongoing service, so it has to be ready at any time for someone to say, hey, there's a bug. To find the bug, for each bug that's found, it'd be probably, depending on the bug, it'd be 2 to 6 hours, possibly.
The speaker's time has expired. Is there a motion to extend the speaker's time? Intern Booz?
Move to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes.
Okay. The motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the author's time has been extended by 5 minutes. Further questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the positive? Intern Booz.
So I'm sorry that my first time speaking had to be in this sort of situation, but I am speaking in the positive in favor of tabling this bill today for 3 main reasons. First is that this bill is predicated off of something that was made, the decision was made later than the actual first decision. So Elections Code 54-120B states that any elections campaigns involving a suspected violation of this code must be filed with the Elections Commissioner within 24 hours after the discovery of the suspected violation. Now, at this point, Christian Sandler, the Elections Commissioner, did not suspect a violation. In fact, she hadn't even looked at the expense report. Therefore, there was no nonfeasance in this situation. And even if you believe that this would mean that there is nonfeasance, that it says that the suspected violation of this code must be filed with the elections commissioner, which means it would be kind of weird for the elections commissioner to file a violation with herself. So if you wanted to read it technically, which you may not, it also technically does not mean that she has to file a violation, just that everyone else does. So if anyone in here has known of a violation and hasn't filed, they are also guilty of nonfeasance. Second, I want to address the points that, like, this is the change that we want to make. And this is more of the broader point that I want to get at here. Coming in as an intern, like, it's been a really great experience here, but this is the downside. This is the part of SGA that is very political and can sometimes be a problem. Yes, removing the elections commissioner would create change, and it would change the elections in multiple ways. But I agree with Senator Bothwell and Intercoordinator Bothwell that if you remove the elections commissioner, you would create way more negative change than positive change. You would delay the elections. You would cause our leaders to stay up all night to try to find a replacement within 48 hours. We do all of these things, and for what? This brings me to my third point, which is, in another way, this is going to change nothing. Even though it'll change a lot of things about how the elections are run, it won't reinstate the Kelly Spencer campaign. It doesn't change the law, and it doesn't change the decisions of the tribunal or the board or anyone else in this situation. The only thing that it'll do is remove the elections commissioner. So it won't address the sham pointed out by our previous speaker who came here today. It won't address anything other than just removing the elections commissioner. And that's why I would vote to table it permanently. Thank you. I stand for questions.
Questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Intern Hines.
Hey y'all. So this piece of legislation seems to suggest that the elections commissioner must be the one to file a complaint, even though the responsibility was clarified by a previous speaker that it was the responsibility of Ms. Phillips. Given that election board member Phillips was responsible for reviewing the expense reports and reported the suspected violation within 24 hours of her discovering the mentioned suspected violation, there would be no need for the elections commissioner to file a complaint. As of 11 a.m. yesterday morning, there were 10 complaints filed, though there are more now, and posted on the SGA violations webpage. 7 of these complaints were filed by someone other than elections commissioner Schnau, and 3 reported by the commissioner. 3 of the 5 were reported before complaint 1906 were filed by the commissioner. If it was truly necessary for the commissioner to be on every complaint, as this suggests, and the previous version that we saw at Senate Exec suggests, then we should have had this resolution more than a week ago and likely every year before this campaign year. Not only this, but suggesting that everyone that knows of a violation should file a complaint, all it would result in is hundreds, if not thousands, of complaints being filed and the election board having to try to hear every single one of them. When we're discussing previous campaigns, it seems to be my belief that no one has had professional services provided that were not properly recorded on the respective expenses report. When I use the term professional, I'm referring to a person or entity that provides their respective service or product to the general public through a fee. As one of the previous speakers mentioned, on a previous webpage, he did not charge the general public at that point in time. Since 4 of the 5 individuals listed on the expense report clearly haven't done this and are mentioned in this resolution, it appears that the inclusion of these individuals on the expense report and on this resolution appears to be an attempt to oversaturate the system as a last resort. Not only is this unethical, but it demonstrates a general lack of respect for the commissioner and everyone involved in the election process by ignoring this ruling. To add to this, the same group of individuals refused to take down their website that was supposed to be taken down per the sanction for complaint 1906. I do not believe that this resolution to remove the commissioner is in the best interest of the student body, nor in any good interest. but instead is an unwarranted and malicious attack that comes from individuals that seem to be holding a grudge against against the election commissioner for violations that they have previously been convicted of, and that they have directly refused to comply with previous sanctions. And I strongly urge everyone in this room to take action now and table this indefinitely for this unwarranted claim.
Questions? Senator Hildreth.
Are you aware that a professional photographer took Sean Marshall's presidential campaign pictures last year?
As far as I know, it's not for me, but in reference to what I know for knowledge, I don't know that.
Further questions? Seeing none. Is there debate in the negative? Was it a question? Was there questions? Okay. Seeing none, is there debate in the negative? Is there debate in the positive? Any debate at all?
Oh, debate positive.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I'll be quick. Okay. So here's a statement from Senator Jansen Penny, who could not be with us tonight. I apologize that I'm not in attendance tonight due to the fact that I'm out of town for my sister's wedding. That being said, I'm watching the live stream and have a few words. Being a candidate in this election season, I've had the unique opportunity of interacting with the Elections Commissioner and Elections Committee for the past month. Many of you may not know the time and effort put in by the Elections Commissioner outside of these mandatory meetings, and I want to help bring some more quantitative context. Starting last January, I've had streamlined communication with the Elections Commissioner and her team. From January 23rd to tonight, I've counted 52 email interactions with the Elections Commissioner, one scheduled meeting, and multiple instances that I've pulled the Elections Commissioner aside in the union and asked her questions regarding regulations, deadlines, and overall elections questions. The Elections Commissioner has always followed up via email within the same day or next morning. No time during the last month did I feel the Elections Commissioner failed to perform her job with due diligence and to the best of her ability. Do not let frustration regarding elections processes and regulations inhibit your ability to distinguish the intent of this resolution. I encourage you all to determine for yourselves the intent of this resolution and vote accordingly. Thank you. Jansen.
Any questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. Do a hand vote.
Can we call for a roll call vote?
Okay. 15 seconds. Just raise your hand and I'll count. So, yeah, I can explain this. Yeah, so it takes 15 hands to require a roll call vote. Okay, it has been moved and approved to do a roll call vote. Okay.
Point of information.
Yep.
So a vote yes on this means to table the bill indefinitely, and a vote no on this means to let the bill stand, and it will be up again next week.
Yep.
Okay.
Adams. Armstrong. Do you want me to pass you for now? Okay. Arnaldi.
Yes, by proxy.
Belk. Bergston.
Yes.
Bothwell.
Yes.
Bowen.
Yes by proxy.
Brown.
Yes.
Burke.
Yes.
Carpenter.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
DeMoranville.
Pass.
Dunfield.
No.
Esses.
Yes.
Gammon.
Yes.
Gillian King.
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Harp. Heatherman.
Yes.
Alec Hildreth.
No.
Derek Hildreth.
No.
Huffman.
Yes.
Javin,
Yes.
Karamali,
Pass.
Kidd,
Sorry, pass.
King,
Yes.
Kulkarni,
No.
Leverett,
Pass.
Mari,
No.
Marshall,
No.
Morgan,
Yes.
Niederi,
Yes.
Orth, Rzakowski,
Yes.
Pelton,
Yes.
Penny, Riffle, Roman,
Pass.
Smith, Spellman,
Yes.
Spencer,
Pass.
Sullivan,
Pass.
Tile,
No.
Thompson,
Pass.
Chumlin,
Yes.
Wessel, Wilhelm,
Yes.
Whitmer.
Yes.
Go back real quick. Adams,
Pass.
Armstrong,
Pass.
this time I guess we have to vote. You can't keep passing.
All right. Yes.
Armstrong,
No.
DeMaranville,
Yes.
Karamali,
I abstain.
Kidd,
Yes.
Leverett,
No.
Roman,
No.
Spencer,
Yes.
Sullivan,
No.
Thompson,
Abstain.
and Thompson. Or did I said that already. Sorry, Tile. The vote is 29 to 11 to 2.
So the motion passes. It will be postponed indefinitely.
If we could give Parliamentarian Watkins a round of applause for everything. All right, with that, we'll now move into second open period. Are there any speakers for second open period? And Committee Chair Colburn / intern.
The special committee the special committee on membership is meeting on Sunday at 6 p.m. to discuss the intern program and the diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. Let me know if you have any comments about those, if you can't make the meeting, or you're welcome to come to the meeting. They're a lot of fun. I might have cookies.
Are there any questions for Chair Colburn? Seeing none, further speakers? Senator Leverett.
Yeah, okay, so first I want to apologize for being out of order. The reason why I said that, especially when we have guests in our area, in our spaces, I think we should, like, Senator Boswell did an excellent example of, like, asking the question that kind of gave a purpose at the end. Like, do you have questions for this, or how can we say for you? Instead of forming questions that seems like we're attacking guests in our room. I also want to give another applause to our President Keel. I think what you said is very important. I think tonight serves as a perfect example of how, like, polarized Senate can get. I think as a senator, if we're not pissed off, if we aren't happy or sad or emotional about when we come to Senate, then we aren't really doing justice to the people who elected us to this office. So if you don't feel things, I think you should heed what President Keel said. Think about why you're really here. Are you really doing your job? If a bill hasn't been in legislation that kind of made you feel some type of way, whether it's happy or sad or whatever, then are you really here for the right reason, right? And so as student senators, I just kind of, I don't know, just think about what you're doing and who you're doing it for. I applaud everyone who spoke tonight. Like, that's pretty cool that you guys are feeling something. Personally, this is the first time I was in a room where I felt like you guys feel things. So I just want to say that, thank you guys. I again apologize for being disrespectful, for speaking out of context. Sorry, not sorry, but sorry. Yeah, that's all right. Oh, also, UPC applications are open now. If we need co-chairs, so feel free to apply. Mila has applications. She's around right here. What's the date?
They are Sunday by midnight.
Yes, Sunday at midnight. If you guys are interested in being a UPC co-chair, multi-coach is great. Talk to any of us after now.
Questions for Senator Leverett? All right, if not, further speakers? President Keel?
I just wanted to say one thing. I want to thank, again, like Michael said, or Senator Leverett, sorry, everyone that spoke tonight on both sides. Thank you for sharing your opinions. I think, we're coming up again on another Senate where we've had debate again, I guess. Not too exciting for me. But what I'd like to say is I hope this issue is now resolved and that we can move on together as a Senate body for the remainder of our term. Like I said earlier, we have a month left, and that's a month to make a lot of impact on our students and on our campus here today. So if you feel like there's something still left to be done, and I hope all of you have something on that list, I will be out of town, but please email me, text me, whatever. Let's set up a time, figure out how you can get it accomplished in these next coming weeks. So thank you.
Questions?
Oh, sorry, no.
Questions for President Keel? Okay. Further questions or speakers? Sorry. Chair Kulkarni.
This is no kind of report. I just want to resonate what Jordan Keel and Michael and Leverett said, that I'm glad I was at Senate today. Differences of opinion are going to happen. That's why we are here for. We are going to have different opinions. There are issues, but let there not be any bad blood or any kind of anger or anything, because disagreement is not anger. One thing, 10% of conflicts are due to differences of opinion, 90% are due to the tone of voice, so let's maintain a good tone of voice, let's be respectful. We are here to serve student body and not argue about personal biases or anything. Learn to be respectful, open-minded to people's opinion, even when you don't agree. I'm just going to say some quotes that I found on the internet 3 seconds ago, so that's all it is. Just to say that, okay, I have an opinion. There are people who have different opinion than me, but that's what we are here for in Student Senate. And I'm glad that I was here, and I'm glad that we had this debate. Let's continue to have debates like these, but let's not break the relationship we have formed over the year over it. Thank you. I stand for questions.
Questions? All right. If not, further speakers? Deputy Attorney General Dedevo.
So first, I just want to say sorry for asking questions in a forceful manner. I was very passionate. Okay. But anyway, so me and Kristen in the Elections Committee are working to change some of the elections rules, because obviously there's a problem. And I think a lot of you guys have voiced concerns about that. So please, email me, email Kristen. I want to know what the problems are and what can be fixed. So I will meet with literally every one of you if you have something to say. So I'm sure Kristen would too. So that's all I gotta say.
Questions?
Can students still be involved in that process?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, literally anyone that has input on the statutes, we would like to hear that.
Question?
Yeah, how would an everyday student access the statutes?
It's on OrgSync. It's on. You can go to the SJ portal. It's on the website. Okay, yeah, if you want a super updated version, email me. Okay.
Further questions? All right, seeing none further speakers. Caucus Leader Kidd.
I actually have a quick question for my first point. So when we're live streaming, for you or for anyone else who can answer it, when we're live streaming meetings, what cameras are in operation? Is it just this one? So the people that are watching can see me right here on that camera? Yeah, that one. Perfect, cool, just curious. What? Did you?
Actually, it's more this.
Yeah.
So they don't, probably not.
So they can't, okay.
So it's good to come up with a microphone.
Hey! Awesome. I really hate coming up here because I just feel super nervous just seeing all your faces. I love seeing your faces from my spot just right over there. And since I'm on the microphone, can the people listening or watching hear me better too, do you think?
They probably can't. Okay. So I wanted to come up here just to remind you all about homecoming application. So homecoming, I know. I'm the only thing keeping us from ending this meeting. So homecoming, it's this unique group of people that get together to make homecoming happen. And we're a student org, but we're kind of not. It's interesting how it all works. But, huh? Perfect. That's perfect. But no, I would just like to encourage you to, one, apply, or two, tell some of your constituents to apply. I know that a lot of you have passion in the room, and what's great is that we get heated in homecoming as well. We talk for a while about picking the theme. Don't get me started on last year. So, but if you want to apply, applications are due tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. You can go to kstate.com/homecoming or go to bit.ly/H C 2 k 19. If you type it all in with undercase letters, it will take you to this weird app through the App Store. So don't do that. And I will now stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Caucus Leader Kidd? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Hey,
Marcus.
thanks, love you all. Bye.
Further speakers for second open period? Camila?
Okay, so hi. Back to what Michael said, our culture applications are still open, so that's cool. BCC, and then we have Black History Museum coming tomorrow, and the alumni stuff because they're interested. Traveling, pretty cool. But anyways, the only reason I came last week was pretty reactionary, right? I heard there was a budget cut, and I wanted to come see what was happening. And I think the two senators that reached out to me about it, and then for people that kept informing me and contacting me later, that was really awesome. And I try to be a solutions person, not a problems person. So maybe a problem in SGA might be accessibility and transparency. I've never felt like I could join an organization like this because it never. I'm gonna be very open right now. I'm a Mexican person from, UKC, and I just came here last year for grad school. So it just never felt like an entity like this was for me. But maybe if my senator, who I don't even know who that is, reached out to their students and was like, hey, I'm your senator. Maybe you could come to a meeting sometime, or here's what we're discussing. It might affect you, because honestly, I didn't know anything that was going on, and I'm a paid person in this university who also attends school here. So maybe that's a solution to a problem I've been noticing. But I do appreciate people who contacted me and I appreciate you guys totally, because I have a lot of students that work for free in my organization, so I understand seeing students that are passionate about what they're doing and doing all of this work for no money. But yeah, maybe if you guys reach out to your students a little more, and the ones that you are directly affiliated, it would have more people in this room for better reasons than just reactionary reasons. Thank you for your time.
And thank you, Camila. Questions or question?
Could you provide your name and your K-State email and what college you're in?
Oh yeah, my name is Camila Rivera, and my email is Camila one L CAMILA, common mistake, 4295@ksu.edu, and I'm in the College of Architecture.
Are there any more questions? Question? Caucus Leader Kidd?
Yes. Hey. Are you a grad student or
Yes.
no? You are? Okay. So, well, huh? So I'm your senator, so we can talk still.
Marcus, hi. Yeah, see, I know Marcus. Would I have known that? I did not know that.
All right, are there any more questions? All right, seeing none, further speakers? Intern Coordinator Brothwell.
I'm going to be speaking from the podium.
Hey everyone. I very much appreciate the applause earlier from that debate. I worked very hard on it. Skipped 2 classes a day, and also Levi is my boss at work, and he let me leave early because I cared very much about that debate. However, I want to share with you all tonight kind of what my experience has been the past few days and how I think we need to move forward. because I agree with the earlier speakers that tonight was good, healthy debate, and that we should debate when things are important. But I don't think we need to leave it right there. I think there's more we need to do, and so I want to move on from that point. So I want to talk specifically about what happened yesterday. Everyone knows, like, campaigns, everything, like violations on every side. Whoever you are, I think yesterday was a very wild day in terms of SGA. I think we all know that. I think a lot of people not in SGA had a lot of opinions on how they felt like SGA is, what their perception of us is, and I think it caused a lot of us to self-reflect. And for me personally, I didn't go, I'm interning in Topeka this semester. I didn't go yesterday because I thought there was gonna be snow in the morning, didn't need to do that. So instead, I spent most of yesterday also working on the debate that I was going to prepare tonight. But after I got back from lunch, I went back to my room, and after seeing all the news, I kind of just broke. I started basically crying in the dorm room thinking, why am I even doing this anymore? It was a really rough afternoon because I felt like the effort I was putting in wasn't worth anything. And then that night, Sadie and I had decided that we needed to update the interns on everything going on, that we had to give them some sort of statement to let them know that this week was going to be very controversial, that there was going to be a lot of things happening. But the one thing that we told them and we emphasized in that message that we both looked over was that we would defend those interns no matter what happened. That if they got up and argued on either side of the bill, we were going to defend them, and if anyone came after them for any personal attacks, that I think Sadie is quoted as saying, they'll have to throw me out of Wildcat Chamber because I'll behave so terribly. When we sent that message, intern after intern responded with wonderful things. Like, I was sitting at dinner almost crying because of how wonderful the things that they said are. It meant a lot, everything they said. It truly did. Like, what had been a terrible day became a wonderful evening, and I felt more inspired to finish something what I started. However, after everything I've gone through that week, I feel very energized. I feel very ready to work on SGA, but I don't feel like we are all going to walk out of this room and forgive each other, to be honest. I feel like that underlying campaign sides, people are on each side and everything, is going to stay there, and I don't want that to happen, to be honest. I don't know what to do, really, to move forward to make sure everyone's all together, that we're working as efficiently as possible. Like I said earlier, I do believe in our mission as SGA. I have one request for people, and that is, if your name was on that bill that was read tonight, I think you owe our elections commissioner an apology, because she has had a week of hell. I am in class with her. I've had to get assignments for her from this class because she has not been there. You should have seen, she had a test on Tuesday and Wednesday, and she had to deal with all of this on top of that. She had to go through a very public condemnation of people telling her that she was terrible at her job and everything that she did was wrong. And she has been a trooper. She has worked so hard this whole election season, and it is very unfair that people treated her like that. And so I think that if we can do anything to heal, if your name was on that bill, you will walk up to her, look her in the eye, and say, I'm sorry. I really stand by that statement. Kristen, I'm sorry that people treated you that way. I don't know what we can do as a body to be forward. My interns are on both campaigns. There are people who are on both sides, and I still stand by the statement that I support them both. But very seriously, I just think that we need to say that we're sorry and that this never should have happened in the first place. I'm done, and I'm not going to answer any questions.
All right, with that, are there any further second open period speakers? All right, seeing none, we will move into second roll call.
Adams.
Here.
Armstrong.
Here.
Arnaldi. Belk. Bergston.
Here.
Bothwell.
Here.
Bowen. Brown.
Here.
Burke.
Here.
Carpenter.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
D. Moranville.
Here.
Dunfield.
Here.
Esses.
Here.
Gammon.
Here.
Gillian King.
Here.
Grover.
Here.
Hammond.
Here.
Harp. Heatherman.
Here.
Alec Hildreth.
Here.
Derek Hildreth.
Here.
Huffman.
Here.
Javin.
Here.
Carmolly.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
King.
Here.
Kulkarni.
Here.
Leverett.
Here.
Mari.
Here.
Marshall,
Here.
Morgan,
Here.
Neatery,
Here.
Orth, Warzakowski,
Here.
Pelton,
Here.
Penny, Riffle, Roman,
Here.
Smith, Spellman,
Here.
Spencer,
Here.
Sullivan,
Here.
Tile, Thompson,
Here.
Chumlin,
Here.
Wessel, Wilhelm,
Here.
Whitmer.
Here.
All right, there are 40 senators present, 2 excused, and 7 absent.
All right, with that, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Senator Thompson.
Adjourn until next Thursday at 7 p.m. Second.
In Wildcat Chamber.
Yeah, in Wildcat Chamber.
Second? Awesome. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn same time, 7 p.m., Wildcat Chamber next week. If there are no objections, we are adjourned.
I know, I saw you in the corner.
I was in but I didn't call her. That is so funny. Yeah. Mariana, you're basically mashing today. Maybe I tried to call. We don't live in ours. I know. Yo, and those are like two, like,
That's good job.